A bit later on.
And now, if somebody told you about a scheme that could give you all of your electricity for free, well, you might think that there had to be a catch.
Well, as Joe has found out, in this case, it was a catch that cost the Chandler family tens of thousands of pounds.
Lee Park in Portsmouth. Built after the Second World War, it was one of Europe's largest council estates.
Thank you. There are two things you get round here when the sun's shining. This is one of them, and the other is free electricity from all the solar panels.
Until subsidised tariffs were cut last year, solar panels offered lower energy bills and lucrative government incentives. As not everyone could afford to buy them, some firms offered to put their panels on your roof. Called the Rent-a-Roof scheme, the company kept the feed-in tariff payments, while the homeowner, like 83-year-old June Oliver, benefited from lower bills.
And you like the idea because the free electricity?
Of course. I mean, when you're on a pension, literally try and save on your bills.
But here's the thing, you're leasing your roof for up to 25 years.
What were you aware of? What did you know you were signing up to?
Well, just basically to get this government scheme. I mean, I didn't realise there was this 25-year thing on it.
You didn't realise they were leasing your roof for 25 years?
No, definitely not. I did get told off afterwards.
Did you?
Yes.
Who told you off?
My daughters.
And just next door, June's neighbour, Pat Chandler, was 95 when she signed up. And her son, Jerry, knew nothing about it.
Jerry!
Hi, Joe.
Good to
This
see
is
you.
Mum's house.
All right, let's have a look.
Come through.
Pat had lived here very happily for 30 years.
So it's a house she was very fond of.
It was very fond of
Let's
it.
have a look at it. Good-sized garden, isn't it?
Pat took pride in her home with new windows and doors and enjoyed gardening right up until she died, aged 97.
But she left behind a legacy the family wasn't quite expecting.
Pat had agreed to local businessman Carl Hughes putting solar panels on her roof.
To get a 95-year-old woman to sign a contract for 25 years, it's just not on. She didn't consult anybody.
As Mr. Hughes had paid for the panels, he'd get the feed-in tariff payments, worth tens of thousands of pounds over the course of the lease. So what does an expert like Alistair McKinley, who advises the Law Society on best practice in property matters, think of Pat's 25-year lease?
Somebody of that age, it's probably classed as potentially vulnerable, and in those circumstances, really, they ought to be given the opportunity to speak to friends, to family, or to take some legal advice. And the code, with regard to installation of solar panels, does say that vulnerable clients need to be given special consideration.
How do you feel about this particular document when you look through it?
It makes me angry because I just feel an advantage has been taken of somebody here. The circumstances in which it's come about feels wrong.
Carl Hughes wouldn't be interviewed, but said there was no evidence Mrs. Chandler was vulnerable and that all necessary steps were taken to ensure she understood the deal. He says her age was irrelevant, as the solar panel benefits could pass to any new owner of the house. Just 18 months after signing the 25-year lease, Pat died, and her family inherited her home with its rooftop tenant.
We went to an estate agent and he put the house on the market. Within days, he'd got a buyer for it.
Oh, right.
And after about 4 weeks, the sale fell through.
It turns out the solar panels were stopping them getting a mortgage. After 3 more sales collapsed, the family asked Mr. Hughes to remove the solar panels. He agreed, but only if they paid him £13,000. In the end, the family had the solar panels removed themselves and returned them to him.
Carl Hughes says the family had no right to remove his solar panels. He says they were in breach of the contract signed by 95-year-old Pat. As a result, he put in a court claim for all the money he says he'd have earned over 25 years of sunshine pouring down onto Pat's roof. The claim was for a whopping £50,214. Oh, and 67 pence.
The family settled out of court and paid Mr. Hughes £22,500.
In terms of your mother's estate, that meant he got quite a large share of it.
He got more than what any of us got. She would have been so upset. Mum and Dad worked hard all their lives to give us all something, not Carl Hughes.
Over the garden fence, June's agreement wasn't with Mr. Hughes, but the Chandler family's cautionary tale has given her some sleepless nights.
25 years is a long time. I'm not going to be around at the end of that. And are my family going to have the same problems as they did next door?